And won't you be, please won't you be my neighbor? Hi neighbor, welcome back. I kind of lost a little bit of track of time. It's pretty hard to come down here in the back porch. It's like my imaginary land, so I gotta be in kind of an imaginary kind of, and welcome back. I'm glad to have you. And today, I don't have any kind of video to share with you. So I thought, why don't we just make one here as we go? Because we've got all kinds of stuff here in the back porch that we can show you. And I know if you've watched long enough, you've probably seen the background, so we can show you some of the stuff there. We can show you some of the stuff over here. Because we don't really get into a whole, we get into something and then we lose track of time, and before you know it, there's things that are left unsaid. We got some of them in here. We've got all kinds of stuff in here. We've got it's all the things that Manson left to share with you. And some of them are cryptic messages that we can all decode today. Because we were friends. I wasn't looking in for any magic kind of messages then in these things. But when you look back on them, you can find some messages in these things. I can tell you the context. I can show you the thing. Yeah, that's what we'll do today. And you can figure it out. What you think it was all about. If it's about anything, what are we talking about here? Who knows? If you looked on the banner, it said, no sense makes sense. And it makes perfect sense. So welcome back. So what do we got back here? You've probably seen this plenty of times if you've watched. It's, this is a bunch of pictures that I like Mod Podged, and it was actually used Mod Podged too, because you can't, it has no, and then you sand it off, and it's old, but it's just a bunch of old criminals. And it's a cabinet, and it has things in it. It has stuff in it. Of course it's got stuff in it. That kind of stuff in it. But this is just a cabinet with a bunch of criminals on it. You recognize any of them? I put this guy on top. He's almost dead center because he's the one that really affected my life. He's probably, I don't know if he's really the one that got me interested in crime, but he's pretty close. It's Pretty Boy Floyd. And my grandmother met up with this guy. And beside him is Ma Barker. And she was the leader of the Ma Barker gang. And one of the people in the Ma Barker gang actually taught Charles Manson how to play guitar. So that's why I put those two pretty much together, because they got me all interested in all this stuff. Okay, as we go up, we come to the statue of Charlie Manson. This was made by one of his friends in the hobby program at Corcoran, and then he got out and he took it with him and he sold it to me, and he bought heroin, but he didn't survive it. So it's like, man, it really has a deep kind of like, oh no, what a terrible kind of feeling after the fact that you felt so good about getting it, so it's like a tribute to sort of misery. Oh, okay, now we got Abbey Road down here, and the men are carved into it, and there's the Times Saturday from London from 1965 from Albert Hall. Have you ever seen The Final Words? In it, there's a bloody handprint that pops up all the time. You know whose bloody handprint that is? I'm gonna give you a guess. Yep, it was mine. So now when you see that bloody handprint, you know it was mine. Because I made this thing as a prop for The Final Words. And of course, I used my own handprint, wouldn't you? Come on. So how many times have you seen that handprint and you didn't really know it was mine? Now you do. You can't unsee it now. This here, that's not something I stole. I actually made that. You can tell if you look real close. You know, it's just a piece of paper glued to a piece of metal. And I really didn't even have the right cutter that they had cut the metal with, so it's kind of, you know, but in the background, it looks like a sign from Route 66. And all this stuff leads down Route 66 anyway, because Manson ended up right at the end of Route 66. And he traveled across it maybe a couple times, but I know he did it once. So that's this side of the room over here. Besides the dead mule skull, it's pretty ancient too. It's like weathered, like you wouldn't believe, that I found on my trip. Let's look at some of the cryptic stuff that I told you we'd talk about Manson. This has been laying down here for so long, and it's kind of ironic that it just popped up. It didn't just pop. It wasn't just sitting here, just pop up right now. It was earlier today. I thought, man, I still don't have no video to make. What kind of video could I make? It's not that I'm at a loss for ideas. It's just sometimes I take too much time on making a stupid video that I could take way less time in making if I just did it, you know? And I was asking myself that question. I was also asking myself the question of what is back porch anyway? I mean, it's me going in the garage and goofing around and showing people stuff that I have, but it's really more than that to some people actually, because there's people in the comments that have enlightened me that there's some really smart people when it comes to this subject. There's actually some geniuses out there. And even though I might take things comical at times, because it was a friendly relationship between me and Charles Manson. We were friends. And I learned a lot of things from the dude. I mean, not only did I speak to him in letters, I spoke to him on the telephone, I spoke to him in person. We had a lot of conversations together. We had so many conversations together, we could almost think what each other was thinking at one point. And I'm not trying to brag about that. I'm just saying at one point, you learn a person, you know people in your life like that. That's how much I talked to the dude. I almost knew what he was thinking. That's why when there was people in his life that they wouldn't be able to understand when I told Charles Manson to basically go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. I don't need you around. Get out of here. They took it some other way, but Charlie never took it anyway except the way it was meant to be. I live my life like I live my life. You live yours like you live yours, and we'll still be friends. That's all it ever meant. But then there were some people in his life that thought, oh man, he's being bad on you. He never took it that way. That's what I mean when we thought. We even got to the point where we thought alike, even so much where I could be brazen enough to say something like that knowing he's going to call me back on the phone. And that's where we're going to get some of these messages. Because this is basically, I said this popped out. I lose my train of thought when I'm doing this by, you know, not taking my time and regimenting things and editing things, and I'm not doing that today. Today I'm just showing you stuff here, and I'm telling you what Back Porch Tapes really is today, because I think I figured it out, because I haven't really had it figured out for a long time, but I think I got it figured out today, and this is part of it, because on it says Aries rises, and right now it is the last day of Aries rising. It's the last day. And this says Aries rises. I'll show it to you real close. And it's written in Charles Manson's hand. We'll look at the whole thing. We'll look at everything, because that's what the back porch is. It's now for all of us to investigate this stuff. Let's find some answers in this stuff. If I got answers in here, we need to find them. And the only way we can do that is if I get my butt down here and I start pulling out stuff that we can look at. Isn't that right? That's right. And I've come to that conclusion. It's like, wow, there's some people out there that really, they're trying to figure things out in their own mind, and I have answers for them. I know I have answers for them in here. What am I doing? I'm waiting for some court to say, oh yeah, you can do that. already have everything. So maybe that's what stopped me, is some kind of court saying, oh no, no, I don't gotta wait for nothing. I'm here to share every bit of information from this. It's all gonna be everybody's. That's what it was. That's the purpose of this stuff from the very beginning, was to be everybody's. It was to enlighten some people, because I was enlightened along the way myself a lot of times. So that's my story, the story of enlightenment here. And the only way to share it is to share everything I've got with you. So that's what the back porch is. It's my silly way of basically sharing it. Let's look at the front of it here first, because this is pretty amazing to me. Well, it is to me. It might not be to you, but it is to me. It's a postcard, and when it was sent, the postage was 24 cents. And this is one of the postcards where they already have the postage. It's from the government. It's one of the government postcards. And then there's another stamp on there, as you can see, which is pretty cool. It's a U.S. stamp. It's the same on that government postcard, you can see. And it's of me and Manson. And it comes from 2007, and that's very cool, because at the time they were talking about it was like I guess like 2007. That was the time on the internet when you could buy stamps that you could put your own picture on, you know? And they quit doing that because of the fact that people were putting pictures on there of like Ted Kaczynski, and you know he was a mail bomber. And then they thought, oh, what about people like Manson? This is classic. You will never find that again. And it was from Manson, and it was from state prison, and it was to me. So let's look at the front of this thing now. Okay, so let's look at the front of this thing, and before I give you a real close-up of the front of it, let me give you some context here. I used to always tell Manson, you're a good dude, you're a good dude, and he used to always tell me, I mean, without fail. So let this be clear here. I'm like, hey man, you're a good dude, you're always good to me, you're a good guy, you're a good dude. And trying to just reinforce that's me, man. I am positivity when I get around people. I try to put people in a better mood than I found them in. And Manson no different. So I was like, dude, you're a good dude, you're a good dude. And he always came back with, no, I'm not. I'm evil. I am evil. And I used to laugh sometimes, and I would think, yeah, right, whatever, you're just playing evil now. And I says, okay, Charlie, if you're so evil, what makes you so evil? And that's what he told me on this card. What made him so evil? And it's kind of cryptic too, because it'll tell you why he was so evil. You'll know why he was so evil right now when you read this thing. So hopefully you'll be enlightened today, but maybe some of you'll say, I already knew that already anyway. But I asked him. I wasn't asking anybody in any chat room or anything. I was asking Manson on what he thought made himself so evil. And it answers the question of what made him evil. And it also opens up a couple more things on why he was so evil. But let's get a look at this real close up. Okay, like I said, the reason this thing was calling to me, I guess, because it says Aries rises. And when I looked up when does Aries rising, and it told me on the computer on Google just now, or a couple days ago, that, or when I found this thing, that Aries was rising right now. And today is the last day for that. So it was kind of a calling to look at this thing anyway. Here's what Manson says evil is. Evils when good man says nothing when he knows it's wrong. Manson. Evils when good man says nothing when he knows it's wrong. Manson. Aries rising. And then the front of that. And then we got go directly to jail. Charles Manson. And do not collect $200. Evil's when good man says nothing when he knows it's wrong. That's pretty wise advice. If you know something's wrong, you pretty should say something about it, because if you don't, even Manson looks at it as evil. What I find interesting is he doesn't say evil is when a man tells someone to do something that he knows is wrong. He didn't say that. He said evil is when a man says nothing when he knows it's wrong. What did he know was wrong? When Bobby went to Hinman's house? When they were stealing cars? Is Manson, like he said, just pure damn evil because he just let everything go on? And that's his definition of evil right there, when he knows it's wrong and he don't say nothing about it. But he doesn't say anything about telling the people to do it. If you're evil, wouldn't you take credit for that too? Be like, yeah, I told people to do things and they did them. I mean, come on. Ultimate evil, I think, would come out and say, hey man, I told these people to do it. I am that powerful. But that's not what he said. When I asked him what he meant about his pure evilness, this is what he said. Take it for what it is, and let's look at some other stuff, because that's what we're here for. We're here to open up your mind and let you look at things like Manson was writing you, and the stamp on it was yours. That stamp's pretty cool now, isn't it? I got to admit, the only cooler one would be me and Ted Kaczynski. But besides that, Manson tops the game. So let's look over here into these books, because in these books, I have a lot of notes. And notes from Manson himself, actually. And there was one of these notes in this book that I wanted to, let's look at it. In one of the videos that I was doing, I was using this book as a reference. I can't even remember what video it was now. Like I said, I don't keep track of these things. I just come down here and now I got to try to keep track of what I've showed you, what I haven't showed you, and not show you the same thing over again. So I'm not going to show you the book and what I was talking about then over again. But there was one note in this book that I didn't show you. And I thought, man, I forgot about that when we were talking about it. And there's probably a couple other ones that I didn't show you too, but this one was pretty significant with me at the time. And I thought, man, I wish I would have showed him that one, because that was, you know, it kind of tells really about the whole book. In my terms anyway. I mean, things connect with me that might not connect with you, and that's totally fine. That's why we're here all to get something out of whatever we can get out of it, and I'm not just hoarding it over here by myself, pretending it's like some fiesta of a win. It's nothing, man. It's information. Information is free. And back to this right here. So this is a note from Charlie Manson, and it kind of sums up what this book is. This book's just a bunch of fluff. It's somebody who wanted to write a book. They used Charles Manson as a subject material because he's popular subject material if you can connect him to any kind of crime. And then they wrote a book. And in this book, they claim, and if you've read the book, you already know what they claimed in the book's a bunch of BS. And you know the guy doing it, it was all about money. And money never gives kind of much information, but although it does sometimes give a little bit of information, but it's always got a motive behind it. In this book, he says Charlie Manson, because he was talking to the people from West Virginia. One of them was a relative, she's dead now, who gave him most of the information about Charlie. And it was all biased to what she knew anyway, and she was younger, and she was on the scene, but you know, it's coming from a kid's perspective as an 80-year-old lady now. It's changed, especially what she knows about Manson. All that stuff affects people. So a lot of it, you can't really, whatever. A grain of salt, read it, entertainment, fun, haha. And he gets paid. Ha-ha, ha-ha, ha-ha. It's ha-has everywhere. And it's all at this guy's expense. But we're not here to talk about that either. We're here to talk about, in this book, Jeff Ginn says he was raised by wonderful people in West Virginia, and I don't know why Charlie... Okay, the wonderful people he was raised by in West Virginia were religious fanatics. I mean, they were fanatical. They were fanatical to the point, and I can tell you because I was one of those people, they're fanatical to the point where one day I was with my friend, and we were just playing with playing cards, and his dad found out that we were playing with playing cards. Almost it was horrible what this guy did to this kid for just playing with regular playing cards in a deck because they were evil from God. I mean, he just about, it'd be child abuse today, just put it that way. And I had to watch that and think, wow, why are these, that's the kind of mind bending they do in that kind of religion that I was in. I mean, everything's evil. And that's the kind of Christian family that Charlie Manson was raised with. And this guy makes it sound like, oh, they were wonderful people, because he's never in it. He never got to witness what kind of stuff that these people do in the name of Jesus. In this book, he claims that the family was wonderful. Well, this is where this letter comes from here, about Charlie explaining one of the incidents that happened while he was at, those wonderful people's house. Grandma said, don't fight. And this is in Charlie's handwriting in crayon. Grandma said, don't fight. I didn't fight. My uncle beat me with a douchebag. And I still didn't fight. Then he put a red dress on me and said, if you're going to be a girl, dress like a girl. I remember fighting and fighting and fighting. You reckon I'll ever get this red dress off? So, when Manson was living with these nice, wonderful people that should have, he should have went in a different direction. He was with these wonderful people here that this guy mentions in this book. Those people were, his grandma, of course every woman will tell you, don't fight, but dudes know, sometimes you gotta fight. Sometimes you gotta stand up for your rights. You got to fight. And he already had that woman grandma in his head saying, don't fight, so he wasn't fighting. And his uncle, who's that dude who knows, hey man, you should fight, put a red dress on him and made him go to school for his first day of school. Get that first day of school in West Virginia, around new kids, because his mom's now in prison. Imagine the emotional damage that was caused just in this one instant. Just this one thing that happened in this young kid's life that everybody now likes to demonize, that nobody ever tries to understand. And that's the back porch, We're here to try to understand things. And you want to look at this letter real close before we end this thing, because it's the night before Easter, and right now, as you can see, the clock's almost going to strike 3. Because this clock's weird, but it's almost midnight, so it's almost Easter here. So I've got to take this thing upstairs. I've got to I'm not going to edit too much because I didn't really do too much except stand here and talk, tell you things, looked around, stuff like that. And next time I'll be a little longer. Next time I'll be just as informative, because I've made up my mind. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn. Not here just to goof around in the process. Trust me. I goof around. I'm not going to stop that because I'm happy. I'm always happy. If I wouldn't be happy, I wouldn't be doing this stuff. You think this stuff don't make me happy? It makes me incredibly happy. That stamp still makes me happy. Just things about things that make you happy in life. They don't have to, nobody has to understand them. And if you don't, I can understand that. I don't expect you to. I'm not begging you to do anything. I didn't ask you to come here. I didn't ask you to look at this. Hopefully you're interested in it though, and that's the reason that you're here. And hopefully I can show you more things that you're interested in, just like I was. So there we go. Grandma said, don't fight. I didn't fight. My uncle beat me with a douchebag and no fight. Then he put a red dress on me and said, if you gonna be a girl, dress like a girl. I remember fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. Reckon I'll ever get this red dress off? Charles Manson. So there you have it. Another episode of the Back Porch Tapes. Actually the first episode of the Back Porch Tapes, because before this I really didn't even know what it was. I just, whatever, man. Everybody's doing YouTube videos. I was doing YouTube videos well before a lot of people were actually, but whatever. Never really took it seriously. Just had fun with it, man. That's what life's about, fun. And if you can't have fun, don't do it. And if you're not having fun being here, go away. I mean, I don't want to bring anybody any misery or any pain or any heartache or anything like that. It's all about peace. And until next time, peace. It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up ready to say